This Week in Connecticut with Dennis House starts now.
Welcome to This Week in Connecticut. Greetings, everyone. I'm Dennis House. Straight ahead today, Governor Lamont is in studio with us to talk about his vision for the state for 2024 and what he hopes to accomplish in the legislative session. From building more places for people to live to climate change and a few fun questions like, when will he try the state's new cannabis products? Also, two mayors join us with their concerns, Jeff Caggiano of Bristol and Glenn Forsheim of Middletown. Plus, a sight we always love to see, a Navy submarine returning to Connecticut filled with sailors waiting to see their families. And with us now is the governor of our great state, Ned Lamont. Governor Lamont, good to see you here in the program.
Nice to see you, Dennis.
And congrats on State of the State number 6. Hard to believe it's been 6 of them, right?
At my age, they go faster and faster.
What did you think of the reaction to this one? Because Republicans even applauded you from time to time.
Look, we've worked together very well with the legislature on both sides of the aisle. We all together passed a budget almost unanimously about 9 months ago. Now we're talking about the second half of that same 2-year budget. You know, we're still in balance. That was good, making historic commitments to education, our universities, and not-for-profits. So I think we had something to be happy about.
In total, we have about 57,000 new residents. Is that correct?
I think that's about right.
Which is basically like adding a whole nother Bristol to the state of Connecticut's, population rolls. What kind of problems does that bring, and what kind of opportunities does it bring?
Well, I'll start with the opportunities because I'm that type of guy. We were losing population or flat as a pancake for the previous 30 years. Now we have a lot of people wanting to move into the state. As you point out, it's, 55, 65,000 have come in. That's increasing our tax rolls. It's bringing our cities to life. A lot of these are young families coming in. We see them, in the schools. We thought it might be temporary, COVID related, but they're staying. I think it's good for the energy of this state. I think some people worry, boy, are we growing too fast? A little bit of that, but generally we were stagnant for a long time. No longer. I think people are feeling pretty good about that. But
you will need some additional services and, of course, additional housing. There's not enough housing for everybody in this state. And there was an article, I believe, in the Wall Street Journal not too long ago that said that baby boomers aren't selling their houses like they used to. So the housing stock is smaller. You've been encouraged apartments to be built in the cities. You're also encouraging new housing as well in terms of single-family homes?
I am. The only thing that's going to slow us down is there's no place for anybody to live. And there's no place, people aren't selling their houses for a variety of reasons. They love where they are. They're staying right there. We're building more new housing in the state, given this budget, that we ever have before. We doubled the investment there. And that's all types of housing. That's market rate housing right here in New Haven. That's affordable housing in some of our suburbs, trying to get more diversity and make sure people can live in the town they love.
You still walk around Hartford. There are a lot of vacant lots that could be apartment towers or things like that. Are you working at all with the new mayor to try to get some things built there?
I worked with Aruna, I worked with Luke. Look, Hartford was much bigger 50 years ago. I said that at the State of the State. And a lot of those are now parking lots. We got too many parking lots. We need more housing. I think you can see around the Yard Goat Stadium and around Bushnell, those parking lots are going to be housing in the next 5 years.
Let's talk a little bit about climate change. You touched on that. And the farming crisis last summer was pretty dramatic. Farmers lost entire crops in some cases because of the rain and the way that our climate, the world is getting warmer. And earlier you were pushing for a ban on new gas-powered vehicles, the sale of them by 2035, and that's been kind of put to the wayside. Where does that stand right now in terms of what you want to do in the future?
Well, look, climate change is real. You point out one day it's a drought and we're watering the fields. The next day they're underwater. I was in Basra. That dam was about to burst, what that would have meant. So I think we feel it every day. Our climate is changing. It's severely impacting us. So one of the ideas that came on along with about 40% of the rest of the country, including California and Virginia and North Carolina, was, look, over the next 11 years, let's move to hybrid vehicles, and/or EVs, electric vehicles. And we'll see whether the legislature wants to continue that commitment. They made that commitment a couple years ago. They made it a couple of decades ago. I say stick to it a little longer. Let's see. We're honoring that commitment now. We're making a difference.
There are some lawmakers who are really struggling with the whole EV thing because even if they wanted to buy one, they can't charge it at the Capitol. There aren't enough charging stations on the Capitol grounds. And they see the state buying gas-powered vehicles for instance, William Tong has a GMC Yukon and some of the other constitutional officers. We understand why you have one because you travel with security, but why can't they drive electric cars to set the example?
Electric or hybrid. Remember, everybody says, oh my gosh, electric, they're so expensive. Get yourself a hybrid. They go twice as far at half the price. You can get one for $25,000. And you're right, we need more charging stations at the Capitol. Good point. This is a program that kicks in 2035. We have 11 years to get it right. We've got a man on the moon in 10 years. I think we can do this in 11.
Let's talk a little bit about one of the things that I know a lot of parents sort of liked you saying was like, let's do something about kids and phones and social media. They're on TikTok. That's where they're getting the news from. And they're on phones in schools, which are distracting to teachers. What kind of, you said you were going to give some guidance to school boards across the state. What will that guidance say?
Well, first of all, I hear from teachers all the time. The kids are incredibly distracted. I hear from mental health, where they getting these ideas. Some of them are very harmful, all that on social media. So I just thought, give these kids a break from all that electronic social media. Let them at least be in the classroom without distractions. So we're advising our superintendents, this is a way I think people should go. It's going to be up to each and every one of those school districts. A number of them do it right now, and they do it pretty successfully, and the kids have better focus, and they're playing with their friends, not their phone.
One of the things that makes Connecticut so attractive are all these historic churches in every village and town and city across our great state. But we had that collapse in New London, and Michael Passero, the mayor of New London, was telling me during your State of the State that, well, I should say before he was listening to your speech, said that something needs to be done in the state level to look at these old buildings to protect them, sort of like the crumbling foundation crisis. Do you agree with him on that, that maybe the state ought to be doing more to check out these old towers?
I think so. Look, we're checking out crumbling foundations. You know, we're doing the dams. You know, church steeples comes to mind. I'd advise each of the churches, do your own structural analysis as well. But if we need a double check, we'll be there to support you.
And a final question before we move on to the couch for some fun questions, and that regards Bridgeport. Taxpayers across the state, and I'm picking up the tab for these, we're going on our fourth election. We did some reporting last week, over $700,000 in taxpayer money. People are kind of tired of it. What's your opinion on this never-ending Bridgeport election situation?
Well, I sure hope it ends this time. I mean, that will be our fourth election in 6 months or whatever that is. It's very expensive. I think it's time to get back to governing. And, you know, Joe Gannon's been elected 3 times in a row by accelerating margins. I'd like to think that this fourth time we're going to have a mayor will be ready to govern. If
he should lose this next time, the fourth time, a lot of people are going to be wondering, like, hey, now what's up? How do you win 3 and then lose 1?
Yeah, now they're going to say it's just like the World Series. It ought to be 4 out of 7. But we can do this for a long time. I'd like to think he gets reelected, we close the door, we get back to governing in Bridgeport.
All right. Governor Ned Lamont will be joining you on the couch for some fun questions coming up after the break. And when we come back, we'll have more with Governor Lamont touching on the cannabis industry, the Hartford Whalers, and Yukon Hoops. Plus, we'll also hear from 2 mayors in different parties, but still facing similar issues.